the scripted inaugural Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl to ever have been played. It decided the winners of the AFL championship game and the NFL championship game for who was going to be the champion of football, because at that point in time there were two football leagues, the American Football League and then the National Football League. In the National Football League, you had teams like the Arizona Cardinals, the Chicago Bears, the Washington Redskins, the New York Giants, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Green Bay Packers. And in the AFL, you had teams like the Oakland Raiders, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, whatnot, and a couple other teams out there that I'm sure I didn't include, including the New York Jets. But this first Super Bowl was played for the two champions of the two respectful football leagues during the 1966 season. And the 66 season is significant because this is the inaugural Super Bowl, and it is titled that has gematria of 66. So that's number one. Number two, why did the Packers win the first Super Bowl? The NFL football itself was invented by Freemasons, and the most successful football team has a Masonic logo. Now, what this G represents is God, and that the Freemasons believe in holding occultic knowledge. They believe in playing the role of God and pursuing knowledge on planet Earth. And that is the meaning of Freemasonry. The G on the Packers logo is Masonic to the core. And that's why in this Freemason league that we know to be as the NFL, that the Packers are the most successful team throughout the history of the NFL. It's NFL that has gematria of 32. But let's talk about Super Bowl I. It is championship that equals under 31. The name of the NFL championship was the Super Bowl. It is Super Bowl that equals under 31 and 41, and it is Green Bay that won the inaugural Super Bowl. Bart STARr was the famous quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. He wore number 15. The game was scripted for Bart STARr to be the MVP and for Vince Lombardi to win a Super Bowl before he ended his coaching career. In fact, the Super Bowl was played on the 15th day of the year. This is how you know the game was scripted for the Green Bay Packers to win. It has to be the team with the Freemasonic G on the logo. It has to be. The year 67 adds up to 13. The Super Bowl was played at Los Angeles. It is LA that has gematria of 13. When we talk about the Packers, the Pack, it is Pack that has gematria of 13 as well. When we break down the Super Bowl even further, it's Super Bowl, it's Green Bay, it's the MVP, Bart, that has gematria of 41. Vince Lombardi wins his only Super Bowl trophy against the Kansas City Chiefs. Vince Lombardi equals 64. Kansas City Chiefs has gematria of 64. It was all scripted. He had to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, why were the Chiefs in the Super Bowl? It has to do with the gematria of the Chiefs itself. 32 is the second highest degree of Masonry to 33. It is Chiefs, and it is Kansas City that equals 32. Now notice the gematria of Kansas City is 122. During that season, the Kansas City Chiefs finished with an 11-2 record and won the AFL championship. And they had a 12-2 record entering the game against the Packers. And then they finished 12-3. That was scripted as well. Jim Taylor scored a touchdown this game, as a matter of fact. Jim Taylor has gematria of 123. It's Packers Chiefs that has gematria of 123. So that should not include the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs record for that particular season, including the Super Bowl against the Green Bay Packers. Now, why were the Chiefs in it? It's because the simple gematria of champion and then the Pythagorean gematria of the Kansas City Chiefs equals 79. Not only is it champion that equals 43, but it is the Packers that equals 43. This is why they're the winningest team in the history of football. It has to do with the Freemasonic G. It has to do with the Packers being owned by the community. Sports are scripted through revelation and prophecy. It is the Packers. Prophecy. The first team to win the Super Bowl. The winningest team in football. They had to win the Super Bowl. It's prophecy. It's the Kansas City Chiefs that played in the first Super Bowl. It's the Green Bay Packers that played in the first Super Bowl. Who was going to play in the first Super Bowl? Was it going to be the Cowboys or was it going to be the Buffalo Bills? No, because it was rigged. The Packers defeated the Cowboys in the NFL championship game that year. Dallas did not make it to LA. Keep in mind that it's also Dallas that has gematria of 13. The Revelation Decode was there for Dallas to play in the Super Bowl, but instead it was Green Bay. It was Green Bay instead. It had to do with prophecy. Dallas did not make it to LA, but what you had there was a coded script for them to have a narrative to make it to the Super Bowl. So we have Prophecy Decode. In addition to Vince Lombardi and Kansas City Chiefs equaling 64, it's the Pack. KC Chiefs equals 64 and 37. They played in the first Super Bowl over at Los Angeles. Los Angeles has gematria of 37. It is Pack that equals 13. Notice how the Packers, well, they won their 14th game, the Super Bowl, if we include 12 during the regular season, whatever it is. Let's go back to the record. 12 wins there. Look at their regular season record. That's why they played against Kansas City. There it is, everybody. That's the gematria of Kansas City. And let's break down some of the players that scored some of the first touchdowns in Super Bowl history. So we have G, of course, being the seventh letter. And we have Vince Lombardi, coach of the Green Bay Packers with the Freemasonic G. It's Lombardi. It's Masonic. It's Occult that equals 74. It's Messiah. It's Gematria. It's Jesus that equals 74. When the Hebrews write out God, G is the seventh letter, then D is the fourth letter. You do not include the O. This meaning of 74 is very occultic. It's really big to the Freemasons. There's 47 degrees in the Masonic compass. It's the Chiefs that equals 47 and 83. It is football that equals 83. This is why the Chiefs played in the first scripted Super Bowl. And keep in mind that the first Super Bowl was played on a date numerology of 83, when you don't include 1967. January the 15th can be written out as 1-15. That's January the 15th. That forms a 115. What you have here is the Green Bay Packers gematria of 115. You have Freemasons equaling 115 and 43. This is, and not only does Freemasons equal 43, remember, the Packers does. Gematria, this league is completely run through the Kabbalah, through the organic matrix itself. This is a matrix code of gematria. This espouses reality right around us. When you look at the first player to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl, when we go to the box score, when we go to the scoring summary, Max McGee, 37-yard touchdown reception, scripted. As we have covered before, it's Los Angeles that equals 37. It is KC Chiefs that equals 37. Why did he score the first touchdown? It's because the owners who own the NFL are Jesuits. They are Masonic Jesuits. They are Masonic Catholics. There are 45 points scored in this Super Bowl. It's first Super Bowl that equals 45. It's Max McGee that equals 71 and 35. There's a total of 35 points scored by the Packers. He scores the first points in the game. It was completely scripted for the Green Bay Packers to score 7 touchdowns. It has everything to do with G being the seventh letter. They scored 7 touchdowns. All of this has very occultic meaning, with G being the 7th letter, with the Freemasons playing the role of God on planet Earth. McGee even scored a 13-yard touchdown reception. Remember, it's Pack that equals 13. It is LA that has gematria of 13. This is how your first Super Bowl, as a matter of fact, was completely rigged and completely scripted by the numbers. There it is. Now, notice how the score at the start of the fourth quarter, the Packers had 28 points. Packers has gematria of 28. Another thing as well, the halftime score. 31-yard field goal by Mercer against the Pack. Once again, it's Pack that has gematria of 31. Scripted, you see a lot of 31 and 13, the reverses. Alrighty, then continuing on here. 66-yard touchdown drive. Let's break down Max McGee quickly. It's Max McGee. It's Catholic. That equals 71 and 35. Once again, these are Jesuits. These are Jesuit owners that run the league. It's McGee that scores the first touchdown. Remember what I said about 33 being the highest degree of Masonry. It's Masonry that equals 33. Max scores the first touchdown. It's Max that equals 11. It's Kansas that equals 11. The first player to score on the Chiefs was Curtis McClinton. 7-yard touchdown. McClinton equals under 3. It's Jesuits that equals under 3 and 22. It's the STARr. The STARr won the MVP. Bart STARr. Remember what I said about STARr wearing number 15. The Super Bowl being on the 15th day of 1967. It shows you how scripted this all really is. STARr and Jesuits both equal 22. It was Elijah Pitts that scored a rushing touchdown for the Green Bay Packers. Pitts equals 21. It's Title that equals 21 and 66. There's a 66-yard scoring drive during that Super Bowl. You see how scripted these drives are when you truly understand the meaning of what all these stats are telling you. Even the time on the clock. 6:04 on the clock. Vince Lombardi, Kansas City Chiefs. All equals 64 in gematria. Super Bowl I. It's Chiefs that equals 50. Inaugural Super Bowl won by the team from Wisconsin. That equals under 25 and 44. It's Champions that equals 44. The Packers from Wisconsin. Jim Taylor scores a touchdown. I broke this down already. Total stats for the game. 21 first downs for the Packers. Title equals 21 in gematria. Now, when we go to the sacks, 22 yards that the Kansas City Chiefs got in their sacks. It's STARr that equals 22. 3 for 13. 13 third downs for Kansas City over at LA. Bart STARr completes 2 touchdowns and an interception. A lot like Title equaling 21. He completed 16 passes. He had 7 incompletions. Once again, it has to do with that Masonic G being the 7th letter. You see more 7 references. He completed 16 passes. It's 16 that equals 33 and Masonry that equals 33. The Masonic G on the Packers, it has everything to do with Freemasonry rather than meat Packers. Even though that is where they got their name at. Heck, 7 receptions for Max McGee. The 7 again connecting to the G. Can't make this stuff up. I mean, this really is completely scripted by the numbers. The first Super Bowl won by the Green Bay Packers over the Kansas City Chiefs. A special edition of gematria. And let's check what Pasadena is. Okay, Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. That's where the first Super Bowl was played at. Bart STARr, number 15. You cannot make this stuff up. You really can't. Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, 112 in gematria. The Chiefs were 11-2. It might have been entering this game. Exactly. Another gematria reference that we can make in this video. Was this the only Super Bowl title for Vince Lombardi? I bet it is. The legendary Super Bowl coach, Vince Lombardi. He won 2 Super Bowls actually before he called it quits. And then I can probably cover that video during another time.